So whenever you're ready, tell me what goes in parentheses, please.
C cubed minus 2c cubed plus 2.
Squared plus 2.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. And let's do one more like it. Let's do number 9, and then we'll move on to another type. But why don't you try this one on your own? Do you have an answer for me yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Oh, my mind went blank again. I don't know why.
That's okay.
I
Is there a
forgot the
number that
second step?
is there a number that goes into both 9 and 27? Hopefully you found that to be
Yeah. 3.
9.
Oh
9.
yeah.
Okay, so then again, like I would say, okay, just write them out, divide both of them by 9. So you're literally looking at two separate problems. What is 9 divided by 9?
1.
Okay, and then what is 27 divided by 9? 3. So minus 3x cubed. Okay, we're gonna go back to number 3. We will do number 2, but we're gonna go back to number 3. Okay, and so now the problems that we're gonna look at are gonna be variable to a power. It's kind of that second type of GCF. All right, so when you look at this, you should notice that there's an x squared and an x to the power of 1. And you look for the lowest power or the lowest exponent. Which is the lower exponent?
3x.
Just the variable without the number. So just the x.
Just,
Okay, so that's what goes on the outside. And then just like in the previous problems, you're going to divide both of these by x. So can you tell me what x squared divided by x is?
just x.
Just x.
Plus 3.
Like this?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I got extra parentheses there. Okay, so I'm looking here because the next ones, yeah, unfortunately, so let me just make one up real quick. Let's say it's 4y squared plus 5y cubed. What is the lowest exponent between these two?
Y squared.
Y squared. So y squared goes on the outside. And then because I've got plenty of room here, you can then divide each of these by the y squared. So can you tell me what goes inside parentheses here?
Four plus 5 to the 5y.
Yes. Yes, very good. Very good. Okay, so unfortunately, there's not any more of these type until you get further in, and so we're gonna talk about the most common type. The most common type of GCF is when it's both a number and a variable to a power. So we will look at number 2. All right, so for number 2, you first look at the numbers. You look at the two numbers, 15 and 45, and you figure out what's the biggest number that goes into both. Okay, so you're just focusing on 15 and 45. The sort of the like proper way is to build what's called a factor ladder or a factor tree out of these, but it's not necessary. Sometimes you can just tell. Sorry, 3 and 5. Wow, that's bad. You can tell that it's a 15.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a 15 that goes into both. Now you do the same thing with the variables that we just did. You look at the x and the x squared, and you ask yourself, well, what's the smaller of the two exponents?
Just X.
Just x. Okay, and then you divide each of these by that.
So it's 3x.
So the first one is 1 plus
Yeah.
3x. Yeah, when they're the same on the top and bottom, they go away completely.
I thought in my mind it was like subtraction and it would end up with 0. I don't know why.
Yeah, so if they're the same top and bottom, it's 1. You are dividing. You subtract the exponents, I suppose. If these years aren't big enough. Usually, like you can think of x squared as x times x over 1x, and then they cancel. One of them cancels. Okay, let's try number 6. I believe we have not done 6 yet. 6 is like 2. It's got both a number and a variable. So again, like focus on those coefficients. What is the largest number that goes into both of those?
4.
4. And look at the two variables now. What is the smaller exponent between them?
N squared.
Okay, so this becomes n squared, and then you divide each of these by 4n squared. Whatever you put on the outside, that's what you're dividing by.
Uh, 3n plus 1.
Good. Right, so I want you to try 7 on your own, please. If you have questions, please ask. But it's just like the last one. In a lot of ways, I'll even leave that one up there.
Got 7x squared in parentheses 2x plus 1.
Very good. 8 is really similar, so have you try that. Take your time, no rush here. There's,
Okay, 4 in parentheses 2x cubed minus 3x.
Is there anything else on the outside? I only heard 4.
It probably is.
So they both when there's both variables, you gotta grab that, and that does affect everything else. So you divide both of those by 4x. So take another look at that. Let me know when you've got something new here.
Four x in parentheses 2x squared minus 3x.
Just three, because the
Oh,
x's cancel.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, they cancel.
yeah. And if you're crossing them out, that's good. Some students, they cross it out and they put a 2 there. All right. Let's look at the next one together. Number 10 here. That way, just close out this portion of it, move on to some harder problems, or longer problems, not necessarily harder. So let me do this kind of wrong, meaning like that's not the right word. Let me not find the full GCF. Okay, so let's say I noticed that 5 goes into both, so I'm gonna pull a 5 out here and divide both of these by 5. So you get 5x cubed minus 3x squared. But maybe upon closer inspection you realize, oh, there's an x in both. So you can still factor out an x squared out of both of these. And now you get 5x minus 3, but this 5 has to come down as well. Now it's better to go to the full GCF. But if you miss one and you notice that it's still there, you can keep going and get it. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, so 11 is like all the ones that we've been doing. So you maybe try that on your own. If we have time, we'll come back at the end and work on that one. I'm not sure if we will or not. So, but let's look at number 12. Math is really repetitive. Okay, 12 is just like the ones we've been doing, except now it's an extra term. All that changes. You just have more stuff to look at. You have to look at the 8, the 4, and the 12, and you have to find a number that goes into all 3 of those. Can you tell me what that is? What goes into 8, 4, and 12?
4.
4. And again, you look at the 3 variables because they're all the same, d cubed, d squared, and d, and you choose the one with the smallest exponent. And then instead of dividing 2, you have to divide all 3 by 4d. So go ahead and tell me this, what the result here of dividing what goes in parentheses here.
Uh, 4d in parentheses 2d squared plus 1 plus 3d.
So there's the middle one. Middle one here is d squared over d. You can think of it as there being d times d. So one of those cancels the one down here. So there is a d that's left over there. And then on the one on the right, the d's do cancel. So it is just 3. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, so 14 is the next one to look at. It's really, really similar to this one. So same thing here. You look at the 3 coefficients, 8, 36, and 16, and you figure out what is the number that goes into all of those.
8.
8 does not go into 36. So it's not always one of the digits or one of the numbers here.
Um, 4.
It is 4. Yeah. Now let's just say you only came up with 2. Okay. 4h to the 6th plus 18h to the 8th minus 8h to the 3. I would hope you would realize, oh, 4, 18, and 8 are also divisible by 2. So you could do it again. Now doing it this way leads to a lot of writing. But if you miss one, it's better to get the correct GCF by doing it this way than not. Next thing you look at are the exponents. You get h to the 6th, h to the 8th, and h cubed. What is the smallest exponent? H cubed. Okay. So again, maybe it's easier to not look at, maybe it's easier for you to do it with not all at once. Like you can look at this line here, 2h to the 6th plus 9h to the 8th minus 4h cubed, and you divide each of these by h cubed. Okay. And the numbers just come with, so you're really just focusing on the h's this time. I don't know if that's more helpful. You'll have to kind of decide. I like to do it from the beginning, but both ways work. So this first one, this h to the 6th over h cubed, that becomes the 6 minus 3. That's 3. So it's 2h to the cubed for the first one. And then this one here, h to the 8th, h cubed, it's 8 minus 3, that's 5. So that's plus 9h to the 5th. And then the last one here, h cubed over h cubed, those cancel, just leaves you with the minus 4.
Okay.
Let me have you try 17. Let me know when you get all this down so we can move on to that.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. So 17, it's actually much similar to some of the earlier ones we're doing. Just let you jump in here, try one. Please ask me any questions if you have. You're not sure.
I got 5x cubed in parentheses 5x squared plus 9.
That is correct. Very good. All right. So let's look at 18 together here. We will get to the other ones. Just trying to do them in some sort of reasonable order here. So the number that's not written in front of x squared is a 1, -1 in this case, -1. Sometimes it's good to write that in there, especially when you're doing these for the first time. The GCF is x squared. Okay, so you're dividing both of these by x squared. Now on the left here, it's x cubed over x squared. That makes just x, 10x. On the right, though, they're the same on the top and bottom. So they cancel, but that doesn't mean that 0 is remaining. It just means that whatever the coefficient that was here remains, which is a 1 or -1. Okay, so it is not 0. It's not nothing. It is 1.
Okay.
All right, now might as well have you do 11 because it's really like the ones we just did. And then I'll jump in and show you a couple more here.
Um, 11x in parentheses x minus 3.
Like this?
Yeah.
Good, perfect. Okay, so we're gonna look at 16 next. So 16, we haven't seen this before. It's got well, what we have seen before is there's 3 numbers, and there is a number that goes into all 3. Okay, so that part you have seen before, and that number is 8. 8 goes into all 3. But there's in all the other problems we've done, it's always been the same variable, but this one has an x and a y in it. Okay, and you to factor out either an x or a y, they have to be in all the terms. All right, so like notice there's an x in the first one and the last one, but not the middle one. There's only a y in the middle one, but not the first and the last. To factor out, they have to be in all. Okay, so this one, this is it. You just divide each of these by 8. So it'd be 4x cubed plus 2y squared minus 3x. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So now we're gonna look at 15. Okay, 15, you've got number and number. You've got x's in both. So we're gonna look at, we've got x squared, x to the 5th, and then you've got y's in both. So you go piece by piece. It's like what is the smallest number that goes into, or I'm sorry, what is the largest number that goes into 3 and 18? 3 and 18.
3.
3. Okay, and then between the x squared and the x to the 5th, which is the smaller exponent?
X squared.
X squared. And we're only doing that because it's in both. If like if there's only an x squared in one of them, or the x5 was only over here, you wouldn't be able to do this. But because they're in both, you can factor it out. Y to the 5th, y cubed. You choose the smaller, which is y cubed. Now, you have to divide each of these by that. Okay, so give that a try and tell me what goes in parentheses. Any questions for me? Or you think you got it?
I think I got it.
Okay. So the first one is y squared plus 6x cubed.
Yeah.
All right, last one on this page is 13, I believe. This one is very similar to the one we just did. Let me know when you're ready to go on this one.
Ready to go.
Okay. So 13 is the last of these, and then we move on to factor by grouping, which it's related. But so again, like you look at the numbers 4, 6, and 8, and there's a 2. There's a 2 that goes into all of them. Then you look at m to the 4th, m cubed, and m squared. You choose the smallest one. Similarly, now you look at the ends, n to the 5th, n squared, n to the 4th, which is the smallest one? Well, it's n squared. That goes on the outside, and then you divide each of these by that. And just because I do want to make sure we get into the next section pretty heavily, I'll help out here. It becomes 2m squared n cubed plus 3m
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
minus 4n n squared. Okay, so get this down, and then we'll move on to the grouping. Grouping will go somewhat fast.
Okay, got it.
Got it. Fantastic. Okay. So let's look at number 19. Okay, factor by grouping. There is kind of another name for it that I'll give you in a moment here, but you look at the first two terms. It's 8r cubed minus 64r squared, and you find the GCF between the first two. Okay, so like what I see is that an 8 goes into both and an r squared goes into both. And just like before, you have to reduce and figure out, well, what goes inside parentheses. So ends up being r minus 8. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Great. Now this is really critical, okay? Because I think the first part is pretty straightforward. Yeah, find the GCF of the first two, factor it out. I've been doing that. You immediately write what's in parentheses over here to the right with a little space in between. All right. And then you have to figure out, well, what goes in here? What goes in this space such that when you multiply in, you get back to the original. Okay. And it's usually good to look at the number. Like, what do you multiply -8 by to get -8?
1.
+1. So it's got to have an operator here, +1. Now, they call it factor by grouping, but I really think of it as like double factoring or more, because you end up factoring twice. Do you see how both of these have a r -8 in them?
Yeah.
So that's going to come out. And then you ask yourself, well, what's left over? Well, the 8r² is left over, plus the 1 is left over. So these come down like that. Then you're done. This is done. So we'll do another one here. Is this due tomorrow, by the way?
Not this assignment.
Okay. Are you a little ahead?
Yeah.
That's good, because we may not get through all these now that I'm looking at how they go. But it's great that you're ahead. It's a lot, feels a lot better rather than the alternative. So you look at the first two terms, 12p cubed minus 21p squared, and you find the GCF. Okay. So your GCF is, in this case, looks like it's 3p squared. Do you agree with that? 3p squared?
Yeah.
It's really important to get the GCF right in grouping. If you don't get it right, you're really going to struggle. So can you tell me what goes in parentheses?
-7.
Agree with that? What was the first one I didn't hear?
Oh, got it. 1 sec.
Sure.
4p -7.
Good. Now you immediately write that over here. Immediately. Whatever's in parentheses, you write over here to the right in parentheses. And then you got this like placeholder. So it's like, we got to put something there. Okay. And then you ask yourself, and there's a couple ways to this, but I think the easiest way is to ask yourself and look at the number, the constant. What do you multiply the constant by to get back to the previous line?
7.
7. And then what you hope is that it works for the other one. You're like, all right, hopefully it works for the other one. It does. 7 times 4p is 28p. You got it. So now these both have a 4p -7 in them. So you're going to factor that out. 4p -7. And then what's left over? The 3p squared plus the 7. Like that. Do you feel like you're starting to understand the flow of these?
Yeah, kind of.
Good. Did you get all that down? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to move past it.
No, I got it.
Got it. All right. Okay, I want you to tell me the GCF of the first two terms, please.
2.
2, anything else?
2x.
What's the lowest exponent between them?
2x squared.
2x squared. Good. Now, can you tell me what goes in parentheses?
6x plus 1.
Good. Now you immediately write that over here off to the right. And just like the last two problems, the same, it's the recipe. I don't know if you like cooking or baking, but it's the same recipe every time. You have to figure out what goes in here in this placeholder such that when you multiply in, you get back to the previous line. I think it's best to look at this constant term. So how do you go from +1 to -5 and you're multiplying?
-5.
-5. And then what you hope for, you really hope that -5 times 6 is -30x, and it is. Okay, so can you tell me the next thing to do here? What is the final answer after this step?
Put them together. So it'll be 6x plus 1 in parentheses, and then 2x squared minus 5 also in parentheses.
Good. So the order doesn't matter. Like if you said, oh, you end up giving me this one, like this is okay as well. They're both equivalent. Any questions on that?
No.
All right, why don't you try 22 on your own? And again, if you're ever unsure, just stop and ask. But it's good. It'd be good to have you do one of these from start to finish if you can. So give that a try and let me know what you come up with, or if you have a question along the way. Any questions for me, or feel like you're making progress on this?
Yeah, I feel like I got it.
Okay.
I have in parentheses 3b minus 8 and in parentheses 2v squared plus 7.
Nice. Really good. Really, really good. Okay. For the limited time we've got left, we're going to look at, we're going to just kind of start 23 and 24, although we're really close to being out of time here. But it says something really important at the top. It says to take out the GCF before grouping, and it didn't apply to any of the earlier ones, but these do have a GCF. Okay. And same with this one right here. Now, you always, like, no matter what type of problem you're getting, you always do the GCF first. And that's something you'll see on standardized tests, something you'll see maybe on your tests, but you are going to have that possible happen here. So I believe on the one on the left, the GCF is 3, and I believe the one on the right is also 3, but we can check that next time and work through these then. So I'm going to stop the recording.